Hello there, this is Pablo Gunner of TNTM The Show, here to talk nerdy to you about any and all things nerdy. Now get back to listening to the podcast that wouldn't die.
부산으로 가는 KTX 406 열차가 곧 출발합니다.
저기요, 이상한 사람이 하나 타고 있는 것 같은데.
팀장님, 여기 11호차 응급 환자 발생했습니다.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
How do?
This week, we're discussing the horror classic, Train to Busan. Good times had by all. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past, present, maybe the future, with a comedic twist. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty awesome. We're going to slip back into Aaron's photography podcast here. Just got back from San Francisco. Fantastic town. For a Polaroid convention. Amazing. The weather was beautiful. Ate dim sum. San Francisco's the best.
Dynamite?
That's all there is to it. You can pretty much walk like from Union Square all the way to Fisherman's Wharf. I mean, you can walk places. I mean, that's the beauty of that versus like LA. Now, I'm not walking to Golden Gate Park. That's going to be an Uber. But for the most part, it's classy.
It's a classy place. But when you describe these places, I always think of like those Dirty Harry movies because those took place in San Francisco.
There was probably less homeless people in the Dirty Harry days.
Well, thanks to Dirty Harry. Cleaning up the streets.
He's cleaning up the city.
Cleaning up the streets.
Yeah.
Now, what's funny is I read some. Did you ever see that movie Zodiac? That David Fincher movie about the Zodiac killer?
Yes.
If you watch that movie, they make it very clear that Dirty Harry was inspired by the Zodiac, like the hunt for the Zodiac killer. Because and I'm not going to remember his name. The real detective who was on the case, was kind of like almost a cultural phenomenon. Like Steve McQueen in Bullet was based on this guy. Dirty Harry was based on this guy. And
so was
Dirty
the
Harry,
officer named Harry and he was dirty, or like a dirty?
He was
cop?
Dirty.
He was a bad cop and he smelled bad. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what I'm saying. If you've seen Dirty Harry, you know he's a little fast and loose with the Miranda rights, if you will.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But obviously they're after the Zodiac killer in real life. In Dirty Harry, they're after the Scorpio killer. So there you go.
Oh, they narrowed down the Zodiac. They've narrowed it down. So, but there's still 11 others still loose as a goose. The Aries killer, the Taurus killer.
He'll get them
there
later.
You go.
Exactly.
Because they've copyrighted Zodiac.
Well, they don't want to make it too based upon ripped from the headlines. Zodiac killer really killed a bunch of people.
It's not Law and Order. Is that what you're saying?
It's not ripped from the headlines, right? Give us your 30-second synopsis of Train to Busan.
First, I got to talk to you about my recent obsession with Korea. So I'm super excited that we're watching this. I don't know if there's this thing called TikTok that I hope the Chinese have to shut down because it is
You're an addict.
I'm an addict. I have to limit myself. I'm going to just check our numbers. And before I know it, an hour has passed. Or
yes, absolutely.
Whatever. So there's all these people in Korea where they take you to their favorite noodle place where they're just slopping it up. Or it's this obsession. They have this in Japan too, where they just take you to the 7-Eleven. The 7-Eleven.
Okay.
To look at all the delicacies and treats, because it's not trash like our 7-Eleven. In fact, I was at the 7-Eleven in Sweden, and it's still 3 levels above.
Sounds delicious.
But it is just amazing. Haven't you ever seen that where they buy the big glass of ice and then various other like juice boxes, and they somehow squeeze it all into this giant cup of ice, and it creates some magical coffee.
Okay.
Anyway, between that and and all the ramen things, so now I'm like doing marinated Korean, like marinated eggs, like you hard boil or soft boil an egg, and then you just soak it in like soy sauce and garlic and chili pepper, and the whole egg just turns dark brown, but it's delicious. So
Oh my
Korea's
goodness.
on the obsession list right now.
Let me jump in because with all your TikTok nonsense, it reminded me of the fact that I have been putting out crazy WTF videos on
Yes.
TikTok for every show we've done for the last couple of weeks. And it is my new obsession. My daughter Grace taught me how to do it, how to pluck the video clips, how to splice it up. So now, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed this, they are like 30-second clips of what I call the WTF moment of the movie with no context, no other information, just a 30-second clip, and then immediately cuts into a meme of a guy going, "What the F?" and then clown music playing. So if you haven't seen it,
I told you. I
it's an
told you
addiction.
it's an addiction, and I hope
No
the
question.
government just shuts it down because it was enough with I spent hours on Instagram and Reddit. I just this is like they put crack cocaine and into this app. And
No
it's always
question.
I don't even watch the whole 30-second video because I'm
Can't
always
make
just
it.
like, what's next? What next? What next? What next? I'm like, oh my God. I'm gonna need to go to like Hawaii where they take all your electronics away and just feed you like mangoes while you detox.
To be clear, they don't actually do that in Hawaii, but okay, fair
But
enough.
couldn't they?
Yeah, I
Couldn't
mean,
they?
anything's possible. Give us your 30-second synopsis, please.
All right, 30-second synopsis is zombies on a train. You've heard of snakes on a plane? Zombies on a train. Dads and kids, and I thought the ending was going to be different. I'm not sure if I'm
Oh,
happy with the
really?
ending. I thought it was going to be like a Night of the Living Dead ending. I actually would have preferred that, I think.
Where the zombies
But it was
win?
amazing. It was amazing.
It is really quite good. I mean, I don't want
It
to
is
spill all the
quite good.
beans. It
Oh
is
no, we're
quite
gonna
good.
spoil the whole mother effer.
Well, not
Don't
in the
you
first
worry.
7 minutes. I don't want. I want a slow. No.
I'm like, I have like almost no notes because one, I'm reading subtitles, and once again, I don't know what's wrong with Prime. Where if I'm watching a Korean film, why aren't there already subtitles? Why am I trying to use my remote to figure out how to put subtitles on? Because like the Japanese movie with the one
One
cut of
cut
the
of the
dead
dead. Yep.
where I watched the whole thing in Japanese and just figured that was the way it was. This was about to happen again. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's got to be some way to put on subtitles.
And I
I
don't
mean,
know
I
how
think
you watched One Cut of the Dead without subtitles. I mean,
I
it's
got the
hopeless.
gist of it. I think luckily I think I'd seen it before. I had seen it before.
Okay,
But
so
I
you
mean,
already knew.
in the end, you know, you get the gist.
You get the gist. Absolutely. Now
When
you
I
had
was in
never seen
Italy,
this
I
before.
used to watch the crazy telenovelas because they were on. I didn't know
That's
what the
all the
hell was
reason we
happening.
need.
My
Absolutely.
Italian is about how much does this cost? I would like a double espresso. Thank you very much.
I could say thank you very much. So good times. Hey, you hadn't seen this before, is that correct?
I hadn't heard it, I heard of it before until we were on that podcast that brought it up, and we're like, ooh,
Oh, the yeah, we were
zombies.
on. We did Zombie Loot on the movie Loot with Carlos. So go back and check that out. That was a dynamite podcast.
Dynamite
Always a
podcast,
classic.
and he recommended it. So we're like, yes.
Yes. I had seen it once before. I think it no, it wasn't on Joe Bob. It was a friend came over and we were watching movies and this was something he had heard about. And I had heard nothing about it and I watched it then and was bowled over. I thought it was dynamite. So this is the second time I've seen it. So I knew the beats, but it had been a few years since I've seen it, so I didn't remember all the details. But I mean, I can't say it enough. It is quite good.
It's quite good, and they came up with some new ideas. And I will tell you, I wasn't scared, but I don't think that has anything to do with the movie. I think it has to do with that we're all just been burned through with The Walking Dead. So now nothing horrifies us. I'm like, excuse me, I'm just going to step over you, zombie person.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to say, speaking as what we usually do on this podcast is make fun of mediocre to crappy films oftentimes.
No.
This film, it's like you said, it's hard to write notes other than looking good. That was a
Looking
good
good.
moment. I like those performances. I mean, I
These
was
people
able to
appear to
find
be actors.
exactly. Good times. Okay, well, why don't we jump right into the highlights? Why don't you go first with your 3 notes, Aaron?
All right. Some interesting things. I'm not going to do them all because I'm sure you're going to want to do one. So some interesting things that they did with the zombies. One, okay, now I'm more than 2.
Go for it.
You flip fast. It's almost like
Yes.
the crazies, but these people die and they come back. Blessedly, no long scenes of people reaching into people's body cavities and just pulling out intestines. You son of a bitch, Lucio Fulci.
There's
May
so
you burn in
Fulci.
hell!
There's blood, although not an extraordinary amount of blood, and no gore. No gore at all. It's almost like they're vampires in a way. There's a lot of people getting bit on the neck kind of thing.
But
But you're
not
right.
pulling away with a chunk of rump roast or anything. No. But
That is true.
but that's not to say the tension is lacking. It is fully tense. It's fully tense.
Absolutely.
Again, it's the people suck. People always suck. People ruin
Yep.
everything
They do.
because you think they would have sympathy for you, but of course they don't. So
They turn on each other quick.
quick.
So very, very quick. One thing I want to talk about is how much of a bad person the father is. Because at the beginning of the movie, the father is taking his daughter by train to visit it was his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife,
Right.
something along those lines.
But he didn't
And
want to, and he's been pushing it off.
well, I think he didn't want to be inconvenienced. I don't think it was
Right.
anything other than
He's a
I'm busy at
workaholic.
work.
He
Yes.
wasn't going to take a day off of work for this nonsense.
That's exactly what it is. And his daughter, how old do you think she is? 8? Something like
Maybe.
that?
Yeah.
Maybe 8.
7 or 8.
She basically guilts him for her birthday. I don't want another Wii because we got me one for Children's Day 2 months ago. Nice work, Dad.
Classic. Nice work, Dad.
What I want you to do is take me to see my mom for my birthday.
Right.
Because you always say we'll do it another time, but you lie.
But
And
you
that
lied.
was
Busted.
boom. So that forced him to do it. But very early on, when there's zombies about, the dad is very much like, I ain't helping anybody. You got to look out for yourself, little girl.
Right.
Again, 5 minutes into the zombie apocalypse. So he's not a good guy. Now, over the course of the movie, you see that blessed transformation where he does
Right.
become more of a team player. He is putting himself out there to help other people. He's not a total dick as where he starts out from. So I appreciate the character growth, if you will. So that was important.
Absolutely, because he didn't seem to have any real connection with his daughter. I'm guessing, he's gone before she wakes up, and he's
Right.
home after she's gone to bed. His mother lives with them and takes care of him.
Grandma takes
she's
care
like
of the kid.
She's like the sad little lonely, like a little Wednesday Adam, the Korean Wednesday Adam, just sad and alone.
Well, there's that sad moment where she had a song prepared for her, I don't know, her grade school class, whatever it was. And she couldn't get through it because she prepared it to do for her dad. But of course, her dad blew off the recital or for some reason didn't show up. He was too busy at work. So she wasn't able to finish it. And you hear kids like laughing in the background kind of thing.
Right.
Did you recognize that song? I didn't recognize
I
it until
did
the
not
end.
until the end. I'm like, we all had to learn. That's like the Hawaii song. Aloha, hey,
Right.
aloha. I did not recognize it until she was singing it at the very end because I was like, what the hell is this crazy song? I had never heard this. This must be some Japanese song. Oh no, my friend.
Well, not Japan, it's Korea. But
I'm
regardless,
sorry.
you racist.
No,
But regardless,
no.
it is a cultural song, folk song from Hawaii. It's
Right.
Aloha Oe, which is the famous. I mean, and I mean, I had heard that, like obviously the chorus we're all familiar with. The verses I
Forever.
had never seen before in my life. So she only got through the verses earlier in the song. I'm like, oh, I'm not familiar with this song. Must be a big hit in Korea. But at the end, when she's walking through the tunnel with the pregnant woman and she's singing it, that was a powerful moment.
It
That
was
was
a
a good
powerful
moment.
moment. It would have been even more powerful if the snipers had taken them both out.
That's what you were hoping for. Oh my God.
You can't be, it's the end of the world. You can't slap a bow on it.
Okay. You
But I
mentioned that the
did think
zombies. Go ahead.
they
Sorry.
should have shot the child first, for sure.
Just
I mean,
threw launch
that's
some grenades
humane.
in there.
Well, I mean, that's more humane.
That would have been nice of them. Well, and you're right. That's how like Night of the Living Dead ends. Ben
Yeah.
makes it through the night only to be sniped by some hillbillies who
Oh,
are
yeah.
cleaning up the neighborhood in more ways than one, evidently.
Mhm.
But that's okay. At the risk we're jumping all over the place. The zombies, we said, change really quickly. They get a nibble, and 5 seconds later, they're up chasing people around. One scene that I thought was funny is they're showing like the news, like, we don't know what's happening. You know, there was a riot at the factory. Not really a riot. Something else was going on at the
Mhm.
factory. And they showed like news footage, and there are these kids like doing skateboards, like stunts or whatever. And then they look up and you see a helicopter flying by with like zombies kind of hanging on it. And the
Oh,
zombie,
yeah.
swear to God, fell off 1,000 feet. I don't know. Crash on the concrete and hop right back up and start chasing the skateboarders.
I
I mean,
knew I knew this movie was gonna be on at the very beginning where you see this truck hit this deer, and then a few minutes later, the deer gets back up and snaps
yes,
itself back into place. I was like, "That was too slick. That was slick, Rick." I
it
was like,
was a
"Oh,
good
no. This
moment.
this is gonna be a problem."
Yes, it's a bad situation because literally one zombie, or it wasn't even a zombie, it was a woman who was infected, quote unquote,
She
got
hadn't
onto the
died yet or
train,
flipped.
hadn't
Yeah.
died yet, and that's it. And now it's on. She attacks like the what's a stewardess on a train called? What I mean, what are an attendant? I don't know what the deal is. Attacks the attendant. Now there's two of them. Attack a whole car, and now it's on. It's zombos all over the place.
It was very World War Z. They were
Yes.
fast, they were running, they were looking for trouble.
Right. I mean, I really thought of World War Z
Yeah.
at the towards the end of the movie when they're at the train yard and they're trying to get
Oh.
away on the train, and there's
Yep.
zombies just closing in from all directions. They crash into each other like a wave.
Yeah.
Boom, like splashing over. And I wrote this down as well. One zombie gets their hand on the back of like the train moving and is just
Oh,
hanging
this is
there.
amazing. This is amazing. Go ahead, tell it, Kevin.
And then more zombies jump on that zombie. So now it's like they're dragging like a wedding train essentially behind it of just zombies, kind of all because of the amazing grip strength of one zombie's hand. And the dude is literally trying to stomp on the zombie's hand to get
But
it to let go.
these things have no feeling. So, the stomp only works if it hurts, right? You're only
Right,
going to
if
let
it kind
go
of
if it
snaps
hurts.
something. Right.
Yeah.
And that eventually snap, and then That's it. And then they escape, or
it
so we
was just
think.
this wave, and then people were climbing over that's where it was giving me the World War Z vibes.
Yes.
Where literally this was going to stop the train eventually.
Right.
People were
If
going to
enough
climb up
zombies
the
get on
backs.
that damn thing.
It's going to slow the whole thing down. Plus, people are running up their backs. I was like, oh, this is good stuff.
No, I've said this before. As somebody who watched World War Z, I don't like it when I don't mind fast zombies per se. I've seen enough movies with fast zombies. That doesn't bother me. The weird thing that happens in World War Z where they're kind of like ants or something,
Yes.
where
Oh
it's
my God.
like
That was
you,
terrifying.
you like that, and I think Carlo liked that. I didn't like that. I thought that was that was too ridiculous. Where they're just kind of like kind of flowing up the side of the hill. I'm like,
all right. I gotta say something now.
jump in.
So that's ridiculous, but not that Jason and Freddy and Halloween Michael Myers are immortal.
That's just good science.
World War Z, that's a bridge too far.
That's a bridge too far. I can't do it. No, it's just I don't know. It's kind of like what we talked about, where it's like if the zombies are too powerful,
it's hopeless.
Then right, and then it makes the movie less fun. I don't mind it being like overwhelming, but when it's like that, what are we doing? You might as well just jump off a bridge, jump in a zombie's mouth, because there's nothing you could ever possibly do in that scenario. Right?
Well, two things before I go back, because this is making me think about our movie, but I still have to make a comment about World War Z, which was a dynamite book. And that was just like a flavor of the book, because the book is a collection of narratives that were gathered together after the war, right? Where the
oral
rest
history.
Of the stories. It's an oral history of the zombie apocalypse. Why were there never any more movies? Doesn't Brad Pitt on this shit?
I'm trying to remember what it was. Now you're right. The World War Z, like you said, was an oral history where it was like kind of vignettes of different accounts of different things that happened.
That could be kind of interesting. I mean, you could be on Prime.
Yeah.
And do a series, even if it's a half an hour series, maybe one's a 2-part, and go through that book. Because I just remember the dude in the fire tower hiding out there, out in the wilderness. I was thinking, that's genius. Whenever I watch these zombie shows, I'm like, is there not a fire tower we can all go hide in?
Well, so I think Hollywood was like, we need to turn this oral history, the series of vignettes, into a narrative where Brad Pitt is the character that's not in the book.
Right.
He is the photojournalist or whatever the hell his character was, to try to tie these things together. His, I don't know, his perspective, I guess. Now in the book, or I should say, they brought in Damon Lindelof to basically create a third act in the movie in World War Z, where it was like, if you're sick, then the zombies don't get at you. That's not in the book at all. That's some Hollywood baloney that Damon Lindelof created. Damon Lindelof created Lost. He did the Leftovers. He did those things.
I didn't say either one of those.
But so that was, and I didn't like the third act of the movie World War Z either for just that reason. But you're right. They could create kind of like a series on Netflix where it's like each episode deals with one of these stories, and that would be dynamite. Again,
and
the book is great.
You could have a narrator, like a historian or a journalist who has collected these tales and something like that. But either way, there was supposed to be a second one. That was all over the web, and nothing ever came of it.
I wonder if it was like, yes, it made a decent amount of money, but it wasn't critically acclaimed. Like, I think the critics didn't care for the movie that much, if I'm remembering.
If it's a zombie film, is never going to be critically acclaimed.
Yeah, maybe so. It's Brad Pitt, though.
Come on.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Exactly. That was a problem for me. It should have been a nobody.
Yeah, but then it doesn't get made, right?
Well, that's why Brad Pitt paid for it to put himself into it. Come on, dude.
Such is life. What were you saying about Train to Busan? I don't recall.
No, I don't even remember.
It
I
could
went
be
off on
anything.
it. It could
At
have
the
been
station.
anything. It'll come to me at midnight tonight. There was something related to that. Who the hell knows?
The fast zombies attacking the train is where we left off.
Yeah, just keep
No.
going. It's gone.
I also thought it was interesting when you went from being I'm just a normal person to now I'm a zombie. Your your face totally like you got milky eyes and now your face is
Yeah.
all crazy and it's like wait a minute. He he bit you on the toe. Why is your face suddenly all crazy and insane?
Well, you see the
Questions.
veins coming up, you know.
Yes,
It's like a super virus.
it
But
is.
I wonder if the one of the interesting little quirks for these zombies is they have no night vision. So as
That
soon
was
as
an
they get
interesting twist. Yes.
that was kind of genius. I've never heard of that before. So when the train goes into a tunnel, they're all confused. They can't see. Maybe it has something to do with the milky eyes. So
Oh.
honestly, this almost makes these zombies easier to deal with.
Because at
They
night
get
you're okay.
exactly. Now you got to do like I Am Legend, and you just kind of cruise around in the opposite time. So instead of only being around at daytime, you're out cruising around at night.
I prefer Omega
And
Man, but
they don't know
yes.
how they don't know how to open doors. They're just things. They have no
Right.
dexterity, no skills. They know how to run and they know how to bite.
You're right. There's a scene that I thought was very cool when the train stops where they think they're going to help in the middle and they all leave the train and they're going down the escalator, and then you could see like there's all these soldiers standing there. And as they get closer to the bottom,
Oh,
they realize, "Oh damn, those
oh
are all
damn.
zombies." That was a
That was a
dynamite moment.
beautiful scene. That was beautiful. And everybody just whips around and you're like,
Yes. And people are going down the escalator into the zombie mouth. That yeah,
oh my
it was
God.
there were a
There
lot of
was
excellent moments.
This was like I said, this is a quality scene. I'm not like, what are you gonna cut out of it? I'm not seeing anything.
Nothing. And again, it's that because in that train station, the dad is trying to lead the daughter away because he supposedly had some hookup.
Right.
Somebody that was gonna his men was gonna get them out of there, and yeah, don't go to the main plaza, go to the East Plaza. We'll be there to. And he doesn't tell anybody else. He's just trying to do it surreptitiously. And the daughter, of course, is the
'Cause they
moral
don't want to be
voice.
quarantined. They don't want to be quarantined. He wants it, I'm above all that. I got
Right.
people, I'm gonna slip away.
You're right. He's not. He doesn't know that the other people are going into a zombie mouth.
Right.
He just knows I'm not going to be off with the little people. If I've got the hookups, I'm gonna do the hookups. And literally, when like the homeless guy tries to go with him, he's like, no, 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 no. You go back with those other people. You go. Don't follow me. Go with
Dude,
them.
he's the one who looked like he was infected the whole time. How come they never try to shove that dude off the train?
Well,
He
and I think that
totally looked like Boxcar Willie, and he was
he
all
did.
buttery. And I was like, "Oh shit!"
Well,
I
think
thought
you
he
were
was patient zero.
Oh, no question. I think we were supposed to think he was infected when we first meet him because they kind of force open the bathroom and there he is, all scuzzy looking and crazy. But
Hmm.
he wasn't. He lived. He lived longer than most. Let's just say that. Good grief. What else you got?
He he did very well. Well, one of the best scenes is so. Quite frankly, I one of the scenes is we're separated in cars. We got some people hiding in a bathroom. We got some people just chilling in a car, and we got
Right.
some people way in the back. And one of them is the husband of a lady who's hiding in a bathroom who's heavily pregnant.
Yes.
And so this is where they discover they're like, we're in car 14. We need to get to car 9.
Right.
And this is when they notice that as soon as they go into a tunnel, all the zombies are all confused and freaked out. They just run into sounds they can't see.
Right.
So they use this to slowly kind of move forward. I mean, there's just too many of them, for them to fight. So the way they did that, I mean, at one point they were in a car, there were so many of them, they're literally hiding up in the luggage rack and scooting along that way. How a heavily pregnant lady is laying on her stomach, scooching along like that, I will never know. But she was like a rock star. She was running, babies were bouncing. I don't know what she was doing.
Well, and I think they established like her husband was kind of this burly brawler type,
Right.
who obviously, the main character's there with his young daughter. This guy's there with his heavily pregnant, like 9-month pregnant wife. Yet
Right.
he was still like had concern for other people, right? When the zombie's about to get the little girl, he comes flying in with an elbow to take out the zombie at the last minute to save people.
He is less of an asshole than the dad. Absolutely.
Yes. and
he hates the dad. He's like, your father's just a leech, I think was the quote.
Well, he was pissed off at him. Yes, your dad sucks. Yeah, because earlier in the movie, he's running up with his pregnant wife, and the dude was like closing the door on them.
Yeah.
The dad, the protagonist was like, I'm going to close the door on a guy and his pregnant wife and let them get eaten by zombies. So
he opened it in the end. I mean, there were zombies fast coming. You got to give him that. They were coming fast. I don't know if pregnant lady and burly Joe are going to get here in time. And am I leaving the door open? In the end, he let them in. He should have got props for that.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you know what's funny? It's like you kind of bailed out on The Walking Dead before I did. But first couple of seasons with Rick, he is the worst. He is the worst leader because it's almost he's too naively worried about, saving people in a certain way. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, bro, I mean, come on. It's like we can be altruistic as the next person, but this is getting ridiculous.
He should have killed both of his children. Boom.
just for openers. Throw that right there.
It's the end times, and you got a screaming newborn baby? Dude, that reminds me of that Vietnam thing where they're all on the bus and the lady suffocates her baby so they don't get caught. Whoo!
What Vietnam thing is that? What are you talking about?
I don't know. There were all those Vietnam movies in the 80s.
Okay.
I believe there were some young celebrity white Hollywood people in it.
That's a thing. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, so Rick is our hero and makes these horrible decisions because it's like, there are zombies, bro. You have to have a little self-preservation. And the villain is Shane, his buddy, who from jump is like, no way, we got to worry about ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 5 seasons later, Rick is now just like Shane.
Yeah.
Just like does the exact same, like, because the show has established, whereas back then they wanted us to kind of side with Rick, even though his choices made no sense. Eventually there was like, this is ridiculous. Of course, just Shane was right.
Because he was a sheriff doesn't mean he's smart.
It's ridiculous. I mean, there's a scene my son was rewatching the first season or second season of Walking Dead. And there's a scene literally where it's a bad guy is shooting at them, trying to murder them. And he falls off the roof and gets impaled on a gate. And zombies are coming to get that guy. And they risk their lives to save the guy and pull his leg off the gate and take him home with them, who is trying to murder them.
No.
Who is trying to shoot them. It's like...
And how many people... Did they lose any people going to do that?
I don't know if it was as bad as that, but it was already like, come on.
They could have used Carl for bait. And I can't even remember, but wasn't Rick's wife's baby? Wasn't even his baby? Wasn't it Shane's baby?
It was Shane's baby.
Little Shane Jr.?
Little Shine Jr. That should have been the clue.
Early Walking Dead was some good times. Good times.
Oh, no question. I mean, make no mistake, the first couple of seasons, the I don't know why we're talking about Walking Dead for 20 minutes.
It's the zombie podcast. Welcome.
We were starving for zombie content. Therefore, we were happy. Yeah. Right. We were happy with anything they gave us early on. after a couple seasons, we're just kind of like, what's happening? And it actually got better. It got better. The
After
horrible
they
thing.
killed, what do they? What was his name? Who is the guy they killed that Negan killed that caused me to give it all up?
Negan killed Glenn.
Glenn, that was
Yes.
it. I never saw another episode after that. So you're saying it got better after that?
No, it got better before that. Got better before that. Some would argue the death of Glenn was like the nadir and it started going back down.
Yeah. I mean, by the end, it wasn't even about zombies. You weren't even scared of zombies anymore. It was just all these masochistic, psychopathic monsters that were ruling the earth.
Well,
except that at one point, remember there was supposed to be the giant wave of zombies that were supposed to be coming? The horde. That was pretty horrifying.
That's
a lot of that. Time to dig a hole and get underground, brother.
Just bury yourself alive. The problem with those shows is that the zombies are so ubiquitous. It's like a weather pattern, essentially. It's like, oh, it's zombie season kind of thing. You know what I mean? And really, the bad people are the real threat. It's like, oh, it's another group of evil humans we have to deal with, and that kind of became repetitive.
Right, because I mean, the zombies have certain weaknesses that humans, with their thinking power and their evil thinking power, don't have.
That is absolutely correct.
So as long as you set up, except for a horde, as long as you set up a certain parameter, these are slow zombies. These are like literally, what was her name? She had like 2 on a leash. She just took off their lower jaw because they were with her, Michonne, that nobody bothered her. So you just needed to have a pet zombie, maybe an ex-husband or I don't know, your grandfather. Put him on a leash.
Grandfather. Just throw a leash on the elderly. Eventually, they'll just be your zombie person.
There's your zombie grandpa. You just remove that lower jaw because I guess they aren't scratching at you. And then
you move the jaw and you move their arms. And eventually they just realize they can't do anything to you, so they just hang out with you at that point.
They just hang out with you. That's now it's a little bit like Shaun of the Dead.
It is a little bit. Let's get back. Let's get our train back on the tracks, if you will. What else you got about Train to Busan?
First of all, we have to deal. We're just jumping to we're
jumping all over the place. It doesn't matter. Go for it.
First of all, here's a life lesson for you kids. If you're battling a zombie, don't put your hand over their mouth. I would have thought that was obvious, but apparently
no.
It's always when these zombies rise up, it's in a world that has never seen zombies or know of zombie movies.
Right.
Don't you think that's the case? I haven't seen a zombie movie except for the comedies where they're like, okay, so what are the properties of zombies? Da, 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 da.
Right.
You know, don't let it bite you. How about that? You would think you would have learned that. So to avoid the bitey, stay away from the mouthy.
Well, there's a scene when they're fighting. There's a lot of zombie hand-to-hand combat. You never actually see them succeed in killing a zombie, by the way. It's just a lot of punching them and hitting them with bats, and the zombies keep getting up. He wraps his forearms in something. I don't know what it was.
Right.
Some kind of something. And, of course, then the guy gets bit on the hand. It's like, if you're wrapping this much...
put his hand over the zombie's mouth to push him back. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? You get what you get.
And you don't get upset.
You
Absolutely.
Don't get upset. Your daughter's an orphan. How about that? Huh?
Hope it was worth it. And frankly, the evil businessman...
Selfish son of a bitch.
There's the evil businessman who's established very early on as being evil, where it's like, let's go, close the door. Well, hang on, there's some people we're waiting on. It's like, no, we got to leave those. And later, he's just literally pitching people at zombies for no reason.
Don't gives a damn. Oh yeah, he pushed that one lady into her right into a zombie to distract the boyfriend. Oh, and she turned quick.
She turned quick.
She like hit the floor. He picked her up to go, oh, poor baby, and she's like, chomp,
chomp, chomp, chomp.
One thing I was thinking about is like each train car was like a different level of hell. it was like it starts off a little, and it just gets progressively worse and worse the farther you go into the train. I mean, and then of course there was a great scene. One of the guys that are trying to get through was on a baseball team, and
Right.
their car was attacked. So they walk into this car. There's only about 5 people in there, and they all turn around. It's his baseball team. So
Yes. Zombies.
dad and the father to be were like, "We got this, we got this," and he is just frozen holding his baseball bat. These are all his best friends. It was
Craziness.
mess. I was like, "This is a level of hell." Now, who's in the next car? Your mother, and she's a zombie. Now you got to go beat your mother to death
Yes.
while she's holding your infant zombie baby. Kill that one too.
Why not? Now,
Oh,
one thing I noticed, I might have mentioned this earlier, is the evil businessman.
oh yeah,
How
that's what I
he,
was talking about. In all zombie movies, we learn that corporations are evil and your
yes,
government will always lie to you.
absolutely. And yes. Hashtag facts. Also, I thought it was hilarious that the businessman literally takes him 10 minutes to change. He's been bit and he's like, oh, mommy, I want to go home. It's like he's got the milky eyes. Pitch his ass off the train. Don't wait till he's totally all feral. I mean, he ain't coming
Exactly.
back.
And what you're right. Why did that girl flip in 3 seconds and he's like calling for his mommy? I don't feel so good. I'm like, you don't look so good. Yeah.
I wonder if it's a case of if you get like bit in the neck and then you're dead, then you become a zombie quicker. Whereas the girl who gets bit on the leg, like the first girl who gets on the train, is
Right.
obviously not doing so hot, but she doesn't instantly become a zombie.
Maybe. Closer to the old brain.
Closer to the old brain. Absolutely. I thought another scene I thought was amazing was at the train station when you see the flaming train car coming down the road and it
Oh
crashes in
yeah.
there, and they're trapped under the train with all the zombies kind of leaning against the glass, kind of above them, trying to get in and get at
Oh,
them.
I don't even know how you come up for this. Yeah, it's literally two trains are like tilted. You only
Yes,
get to see this in the YouTube version because I'm doing visuals. So it's like a TP, and as they look up, there's just zombies pressed against the glass until the glass starts cracking.
dynamite. It was so
Ah!
good. It was
It
good
was so
stuff.
good. It was just really clever. Just new
Yes,
things that I hadn't seen. Do you know when this movie came out?
I could look it up.
I mean, people have been talking about it for a while, so I don't think it can't be that new.
2016.
Okay.
So it's a few years.
It was fresh. It was exciting. I mean,
So
oh my
exciting to
God.
me. So fresh,
So it's
fresh,
fresher than
exciting.
fresh.
No, it is great. Now, were you shocked, spoiler alert, that the dad bites the dust? So in the end, it is literally
I
just the pregnant woman and the little girl.
Well, frankly, I had heard it had a traumatic ending.
Right.
So I was sure the dad was just the beginning.
Oh, so you thought they were all gonna you wanted them all to die. You wanted the soldiers to gun down the little girl and the pregnant woman.
Hey, they were given orders.
That would have been real dark if it was the little girl and the pregnant woman get gunned down moments from safety. That would have
It's
been a
end
sad
times,
situation.
man. You got to do what you got to do.
Nah, that's what they say. Any last thoughts before we move on?
I just have my only notes are just notes to remind me. I mean, self-sacrifice. In the end, everybody was sacrificing themselves for others. It was kind of beautiful.
Well, not
And
everybody. The evil
not everybody.
businessman and the car full of people who were like blocking the door so that they
Whoa,
couldn't get
we didn't even.
in.
How did we not even talk about
Right.
that?
Get
He's
him out of
lucky he got
here.
out of there. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so everyone finally makes it and they're trying to join the others. There's a large car full of people, and they have used a fire extinguisher because the zombies don't see you. They don't get crazy. So in one car, they just wet the windows and put up newspaper, and it settled all the zombies down. In this car, they used a fire extinguisher to block it all out.
Right.
But they can see the people coming. One guy texted a girl who was in that car, and they're like, they're on their way. They're like, no. The Japanese, the businessman was like, no, they could be infected. And so they're trying to get in, and they're like, no. And meanwhile, the zombies are now coming for them. And at least they were able to force their way in, and then everyone turns on them. The businessman and the conductor. When he got the conductor on his side,
That was it.
that was it.
Well, because people are afraid. People are afraid.
And they're looking for a leader.
Right. And if you say these guys are infected, get them out of here, everyone's going to get on board, I guess is the idea. But they get their just desserts. Wah, wah,
Exactly. Once again, this is a morality tale.
Yes.
So the people, you have to be willing to sacrifice yourself. That is our basic humanity. They should have just let him in, because they banished them to the vestibule. At least they didn't push him out the window or something. And one of the little old ladies, her friend right in front of her, had sacrificed herself to let the others go through, to slow down the zombies. And her little friend, little old lady, is sitting in the window as a zombie with her little gray eyes, and she's talking to her, and she looks back at all the people who drove the other people away and just opens the door. And it was like,
boom! That was it. Boom, boom, boom. There were a lot of powerful moments in this movie, to say the least.
Fantastic.
Shall we go behind the scenes?
Please.
The actor, Madong Sok. I'm going to mess up these Korean names. I apologize in advance. Madong Sok, who's the man with the pregnant wife, used to be Gong Yoo, who's the main character, the main actor, used to be his personal trainer in real life.
Oh, interesting. He looked familiar, though.
More recently, he was in the Eternals movie. Did you see that? He was one of the Eternals.
Do you think I saw that? Get out.
You saw that. Let's see. Filmmaker Edgar Wright, who directed Shaun of the Dead, was a big fan of this film. He called it, One Night in Soho, and what else? Hot Fuzz. A ton of stuff. He's a big fan of the film, and he called it the best zombie movie I've seen in forever. Is how he described Train to Busan. Absolutely. It was the 6th highest grossing domestic film of all time in South Korea. Train to Busan.
It was bang.
The word zombie is mentioned once in this film, and I think it was like on a news report or something, or like somebody Googles zombie when they're trying to figure out what's going on. Train to Busan is director Sang-Hoo Yeon's first live action film. All of his previous works were animated features.
Wow.
Boom.
They did some great CGI.
Soo-hee, who plays the character Jin-hee, who is like the cheerleader.
Right.
She's an ex-member of the famous K-pop group Wonder Girls.
Good for her.
You love K-pop?
No, but we do have a K-pop club on campus.
Do it. It's huge. I mean, people love K-pop, no question.
People love it. People love the Backstreet Boys.
I do love the Backstreet Boys. I'm not going to lie.
That's A-pop, we'll call that.
Backstreet Boys, better than NSYNC. Sorry, Justin Timberlake, if you're listening. An animated prequel called Seoul Station, also had the same director, was released less than a month after Train to Busan was released. So it's animated. You can check that out. The film recorded more than 11 million moviegoers in South Korea alone. Boom. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about?
I will tell you.
Go ahead, please.
There was some dude, and I'm sure you don't have him on your list, that I have seen before on American TV. And that is at the beginning of the movie, you're in
Okay.
the father's office and a guy walks in and he's telling him to sell or whatever to do
Yes.
something. That dude who walks in, I have seen him in stuff. Who is that dude?
Like his assistant or whatever, Kim, that keeps
Yes,
walking
I
in.
have totally seen him.
Well, let's go behind the scenes even further to the
Please.
cast and crew, shall we? Let's see. Talking about the director, Sang Ho Hyun, directed Train to Busan, Peninsula, which I believe is another. Yeah, that's the sequel. The sequel to Train to Busan is called Peninsula. Came out 2020. Check that out. Seoul Station is the animated prequel. He did something called The King of Pigs. Oh my. It's an animated feature. Let me talk about the cast in a moment. Here we go. The
You need to. So now that we're on YouTube, you need like these up, like a face level
I'm not doing that.
teleprompter.
I'm not putting all this. I'm not hiding
Because look at
errors
me,
or
look at
doing-
me. This is the treasure of YouTube that you're presenting.
That is not true. I'm like this, and now I'm like this. I'm not doing. Don't look over here. Let's see. Gong Yu played Seok Woo, who was the father. You know him from Train to Busan. He was in Guardian. Is that what it's called? Guardian, the Lonely and Great God. It's a Korean film. Squid Game. Boom. The
Did see
Salesman.
that.
2021. Let's see. Jung Yu Mi played Seong Kyung, who was the pregnant lady. Train to Busan.
She was kicking ass
Arsumi.
and taking names, even though
Yep.
she was like crowning.
She was not crowning, first of all.
A baby
Madong
almost
Seok.
fell out right on the train tracks.
That's exactly right. Madong Seok played Sang Hwa. That was the guy, the husband of the pregnant wife. He also goes by Don Lee in America. He's a South Korean American actor, known for Train to Busan, Eternals. Like I said,
Yeah.
he was in The Good, the Bad, the Weird, and
The
he
good,
was
the bad,
in
and the funky.
The Funky. He was in The Neighbors. These are all Korean films.
Oh, okay.
You wanted me to know about Kim. Let me see if I can find it. His person, Mr. Kim, or Deputy. There's like multiple Kims here. There's Mr. Kim, Deputy Kim.
I don't know
Good
if you
grief.
know this, but Kim is a fairly
It's a
common
very
name
pop. A lot of
in
the
Korea.
actors have the same name. Let me see. I think it's Mr. Kim. It must be, right? J Rock Kim. His real name is that as well. You know him from Train to Busan. Pieta. 18. Does that ring any bell? 18 Noir. He was in The Bad Guys, the movie. You know it, don't you? Not ringing any
I'm
bells?
thinking of the good end. None of this is ringing anything.
Oh, well. Very talented cast. And I apologize again for butchering all the Korean names. Let's talk about the ratings, shall we? For goodness sake.
Yes.
Train to Busan currently has 94% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know what the audience gave it?
100% fresh.
89% fresh. So there you go. Let's look at some of the top critics. Let's see anybody I recognize. See, I could do all this prep in advance, but it's so much more exciting when I just try to figure it out.
More exciting. Also, while I'm Googling to try to figure out what I want.
You know, and
Continue
none
on.
of these, I recognize some of the publications, but I don't recognize any of the names. So
Okay.
I'm just going to pick a couple at random. Let's see. And I'm going to take a long time choosing which ones to mention.
Oh my God.
What's up?
Nothing.
You can't say, oh my God, and then say nothing. Good grief.
I can do. You need to edit a little bit of that.
Let's see. Okay, from RogerEbert.com, Brian Tellerico, I'm sure I'm butchering his name as well. The most purely entertaining zombie film in some time, finding echoes of George Romero's and Danny Boyle's work, but delivering something unique for an era in which kindness to others seems more essential than ever. 3 out of 4.
Danny Boyle?
Yeah, 28 Days Later.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but I was thinking about the dude who did Moulin Rouge. I was like,
Baz Luhrmann?
I thought they meant Baz Luhrmann.
What the heck?
Baz Luhrmann presents zombies.
You know him, don't you? From the Hollywood Reporter, Leslie Felperin, Young Sang-ho has instantly transformed himself into Korea's go-to guy for zombie movies. So there you go. These are all positive reviews. What is your review, Aaron, for goodness sake?
Gosh, this is I'm not sure how high I should go. This is like, it's super good. But is it Rosemary's Baby The Shining good?
That's a question.
That's
like, are you rushing out to watch this again? Is a question I would ask.
I think I could watch it again. Maybe not tomorrow, but I would watch it again, I think.
I own it. Spoiler alert.
Of course you do. You own a bunch of shit. That doesn't mean that it's all good.
Much. Yeah.
That doesn't mean much. All right. So I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 iron gauntlets over my hand so I don't accidentally stick it inside of a zombie's mouth, leaving my child an orphan.
That's important. That's important. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 hiding in the toilets while the zombies are trying to get at you.
Do you like that you can get like 9 people in a Korean train toilet? Because let me tell you.
It is like a clown car. They just kept coming.
It's like a clown car. I remember it being very similar to like an airplane toilet. I didn't realize. But, you know, I am 6'3", so maybe if I was you could get like 8 people in there with me. I don't know.
You couldn't fit that many people in my bathroom at my house. Okay, it's
pushing them in, pushing them in.
Pack them in like sardines. This, like we said, I was kind of goofing on it a little bit, but there really isn't much to goof on. I mean, it's damn near flawless. It's not a film that I want to watch often. Not that it's too disturbing or whatever. It's just
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. I think that's a good way to describe it.
It's like that Uncut Gems where you just got that tension going. It's exhausting to just live through that.
Absolutely. But that being said, I highly recommend it. If you're somebody who kind of steers clear of zombie films because of the gore, really not any gore. Really not. I mean, you see people get tackled.
Tension. Yeah.
Yes. You see people get tackled by zombies, but you don't see viscera or anything. You see people with some blood like on their shirt, but it's not like a gusher. It's not a Tarantino film, for example.
It's like a PG-13. It's a PG-13 zombie.
Yes.
There's no F-bombs. There's no entrails.
No nudity. I mean,
no.
It's easy peasy. And I often wonder, I've said this before, to be a truly effective zombie movies, do you need kind of the chomp entrails? I wonder about this. Is it missing something if it's too sanitized? That's my question.
I mean, some people I think are really into that. There's all kinds of freaky people who listen to podcasts where they just go into all the deep detail of decomp and whatever.
Yeah, I
personally don't need that. Yeah. But there are people who are into that. They want to see like a freak eating someone's liver.
Right.
Raw, of course. I can put a pass on that.
I think there's a line. There's a line between if it's too sanitized, then it kind of loses some of its bite, if you will. But if it's too much, then it's kind of stomach churning, and you're like, okay, enough's enough, and I don't want that either. So
You're like throwing a dress on a pig. Basically, if you got to do that to get people in there, then
okay,
less is more.
fair
Less
enough.
can really be more. It's like Jaws.
Yes,
Even less shark would have been better because it's your imagination that F's you up.
pure imagination. Cool. Okay, well, thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter. Go to our page on Facebook. Aaron, what other social media are we on?
Oh, well, until China shuts us down, we're on the Ticker Talker. We are the podcast that wouldn't die. We're on the Instagram. We are the podcast that wouldn't die. We're on Gmail. We are the podcast that wouldn't die.
You're stealing my thunder here. We're also on YouTube, which is new. Maybe you're watching this
The
on YouTube.
podcast that
Maybe you're
wouldn't
listening
die.
to it. It's a simulcast. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. There we go.
We
you can listen to us.
we don't have Twitter because it's yours, right?
What do you mean? We do have Twitter.
Do
We
we
have
have?
Twitter.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Aaron's lost her damn mind. Stop drinking. Yes. We are pretty much everywhere. Like across
you
social
can't
media.
escape. Like the zombies, you can't escape.
Can't
Although I do
escape.
get confused when the sun goes down. So there you go.
that
like
is
the
true.
zombies.
That is true. But yeah, go look for our posts across social media, and of course, like I said, Aaron and I are doing reels up the yin yang, so you can look for those as well. Aaron, what's your own personal social media stuff going down?
I have much media. I am on the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Won't you join the cult? I am also Don't Feed the Pigeon. What else do I say? Oh yeah, and then if you'd like to buy my beautiful work, I'm on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Buy yourself a picture. Boom.
Absolutely. Check out all that good stuff. Next week, we'll be discussing the science fiction classic Death Race 2000, starring David Carradine. You got Sylvester Stallone is actually in this one, shockingly enough. You can watch it. I was just
He's
getting
only
this
about
information.
40 then, huh?
Only about 40. You can watch Death Race 2000 on Tubi with ads, on Popcorn Flicks with ads, on Filmzy with ads, and on Cult Picks if you have the subscription to Cult Picks. Otherwise,
You're just making some of these names up.
It
I
sounds like
just
I
think
am.
you're making this shit up.
Otherwise, you can rent it on Apple TV for $3.99 if you're desperate not to see any ads. So there you go.
And by the way, kids, I watched Train to Busan without ads on Amazon Prime.
Good stuff. Not too shabby.
Now I'm holding up a picture for you people on YouTube in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Here's a picture of my young brother with one of our sisters. I believe you are
correct.
in England or something. What is this?
I think that's correct. It was, but I'm wearing kind of a Scottish hat.
It's Tam O'Shanter with a fake red wig.
Fake red wig poking out the back. Now, what I would do is kind of turn it kind of a 3/4 twist. So I'd have the red hair kind of covering one eye, and I'd call myself Simply Red.
Simply Red. Very timely. Very timely.
You don't know who Simply Red is. He did Holding Back the Tears. Anyway, so you can check that out. Google Simply Red.
I don't know how Broadway missed you, brother.
I don't know either, frankly. So send any favorite...
when you're ready to do that zombie musical.
I'm available.
Don't forget my brother.
So check that out. We've totally got off the rails. Send any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions about Death Race 2000, and we may talk about it on the show. What's funny
I'm
doing
very
this YouTube
excited.
is I keep looking, adjusting, looking here, and then looking there, camera one, camera two. Anywho, what were you saying?
I don't think I've ever seen David Carradine unless he was either in Kung Fu or Kill Bill.
Oh, really? That's a big.
What
That's
else?
a 40-year gap.
Th-
You're missing.
There's a 40-year gap because he was amazing in both of those. So what else was he amazing in?
This is important. Obviously, Death Race 2000. He was in Lone Wolf McQuade, where he fights
Come on,
Chuck
brother.
Norris.
Come
So
on.
get ready for that good stuff.
Only if he was, what is it, Kwai Chang Kane.
Kane.
Only then.
That's a
would
tongue
it have
twister, by
been-
the way. Say that again.
I think it was Kwai Chan Kane.
Kwai Chang Kane is his
Yes.
character name on Kung
Yes.
Fu. Good stuff.
Yes.
And he's not Chinese or Asian in any way. It's David Carradine. He's as white can be. Offensive.
Well, because
I watched
Bruce Lee was the one who was lighting the fire for this, thinking it was going to be his role.
Yeah, and it should have been, shouldn't it have?
And it should have
then
been.
we wouldn't have all those fine Bruce Lee films in Hong Kong. So
Snatch the pebble from my hand, grasshopper.
grasshopper. Anywho, so thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, children. I'm glad you're not taking the fentanyl.